Scary games are brilliant. You're essentially paying your hard-earned money to be made to feel as uncomfortable as possible in your own home. Awesome. And what better time to celebrate with a scary game than All Hallows Eve, that wonderful place where all good cosplay goes to die, when Tim Burton can pull his movies out of the woodwork and not feel so stupid about himself, and goths get to put up their Christmas decorations. So today, on Total Cult Gaming, I'll be having a look at some of the top scary games to play this Halloween. First in line, we've got Slender. Now Slender, or World's Scariest Easter Egg Hunt as I like to call it, is a superb example of indie horror done well. Its first-person exploration-driven gameplay gives you a real lost-in-the-woods feel like classic horror movies, and that's made all the more tense by excellent lighting and sound design. Slender Man himself is an imposing and intimidating character that dogs your every move as you work your way through each area, often being forced to backtrack. Now although there's no combat and the runaway gameplay is a little repetitive, there's no denying that Slender is literally dripping with atmosphere. Second up, Layers of Fear. Now rising from the ranks of the Xbox Game Preview program, Layers of Fear is more walking simulator than survival horror. Set in a Victorian era manor house with incredible texture and detail, the game has you piece together the tale by collecting various items, notes and artwork dotted throughout the house. Taking more than a few leads from PT with its housebound setting and ghostly woman roaming the halls, the main star of the show is the house itself, which often changes when you're not looking, making doors vanish, corridors repeat themselves, or just completely alter its layout as you slowly discover the depths of the madness which grips your main character. Now although not very long or particularly challenging, the game's visuals and tone make it a standout game for fans of a good old-fashioned ghost story. Now my girlfriend and I, we played this one last Halloween and enjoyed it so much that we'll be picking up the Inheritance DLC this year, when that sees the daughter of the main character returning to the house to discover the fate of what befell her family. Third in line, we've got White Knight. Now if you're looking for a game with a more classic survival horror feel to it, then look no further than White Knight, which opts for an old school fixed camera perspective much akin to the early Resident Evil games. Much like Layers of Fear, White Knight gives us another classic ghost story, drawing both its feel and graphic style from the black and white horror movies of old. Much of the game is focused on exploring the rundown house. Your ever-dwindling supply of matches is the only source of light for much of the game as you solve puzzles and unlock more areas to push the story along. The game also has some interesting achievements, including one for completing the game in one night during a full moon, and that's certainly one of the more unusual unlocks I've ever seen. Next in our list we've got The Evil Within. Now this entire console generation has had to go without a new entry into the Silent Hill franchise for reasons we won't go into now, and even Resident Evil has had to take a back seat while it has a good long hard think about what it's done. Now The Evil Within fills both gaps nicely by being immediately familiar to fans of both series, and it also comes to us from Shinji Mikami, the creator of the original Resident Evil. Now the story is utter Japanese horror nonsense, but that doesn't stop the game being a riveting scarefest that relies on a great stealth mechanic to ramp up the tension as every encounter generally feels unwinnable, until you get to grips with the game, that is. The design work is nothing short of horrific, especially when levelling up in the needle chair. My only gripe with the game is the widescreen letterbox format that restricts your view by placing big black bars across the top and bottom of the screen. And finally on our list, Outlast. Now I hate this game. I absolutely hate this game. I have never had a game scare me to the point that I actually feel physically unable to continue until I played Outlast. Make no mistake, Outlast is a masterpiece of horror gaming. The story itself is all the setting you need. You play the role of an investigative journalist who received an anonymous tip about strange goings on at an insane asylum. You're armed only with a night vision camera, and it's this mechanic that makes the game so terrifying. You see, the graphics are great, almost photorealistic, but you pop a night vision filter over graphics like that and it is realistic. It sucks you in more than any other game I've ever played. Now you add that to the complete absence of any combat and an intro screen that tells you to run, hide or die, and you have a truly unique horror title that will test every last nerve you have as you're chased through the halls by hordes of mutated patients, victims of the resident doctor's cruel experiments, and you're shoving filing cabinets against doors and frantically searching for a way out before they bust into the room and cave in your skull. So there are just a few horror games to get your fangs into this Halloween. See what I did there? Also worth mentioning of course is Resident Evil HD, the remake of one of the first games to start it all off, and the playable demo of Outlast 2 which is out now, and that takes the previous game's night vision formula and moves the setting to creepy redneck land complete with gut-wrenching chases through the cornfield. So happy Halloween and game on.